next tool is My Dream Teams and MDT. Brandon, are you going to present?
Yeah, I can present.
All right.
If that works.
Yeah.
Can everyone hear me okay? Is the audio working well? Just double checking.
Did I switch the screen share to you?
Yeah, that would be best. Let me share my screen if you can.
Yes, stop sharing. Yeah.
Okay, great. Did that work?
Yep. Be seeing your screen. Yep.
Okay, great. So the next exercise we're gonna present is an activity that you can use for teaching about team assembly and helping people build teams, but also reflect on the process of how do we decide who's on a team, what skills or areas of expertise or perspectives are valuable, and how do we put together a team. So that's sort of what we came up with for this My Dream Team platform. So overall, team assembly is kind of a big space in the literature. Um, so there's a difference between like formally staffed teams. So teams where it may be assembled by an external person, it may be assembled by one leader, or it may be dictated by organizational structure. That's one end of the spectrum. The opposite end of the spectrum is sort of these self-assembled teams. It's teams where you're reaching out to someone and you're kind of putting together a team, usually in response to some sort of goal or need or a shared sense of purpose. So my dream team is focusing on this question of self-assembly and how can we help people build these teams and engage people in this process. So we're looking at self-assembled teams where users have choice. So they're able to build their own teams and it's not dictated by an algorithm. It's not dictated by external staffing. So looking at that, we're looking at informed team formation. So that's where we want to introduce this platform called My Dream Team. I'm not going to play the video, but I will like very quickly say that we have these great video resources that Nashir helped produce that sort of describes the platforms and the different processes. So I'm going to briefly show you kind of what the platform looks like. There's links in the slides as well as the handout, but it's a platform like this, and it helps you build teams. So you sign in. It's kind of like almost kind of like a dating app where you sign up, you make a profile. So this is kind of showing the process of filling out information about yourself, your teaming skills, your personality, these different areas. And you build this profile. And then what happens is you specify what you're looking for in a team, and then you're able to begin this process of self-assembly. So you're able to see people's profiles, how they're connected with others, look at different aspects of them, and then you can invite someone to join the team within a platform. So you send them a message, they can message you back, and you formalize this team building process. And that's the big picture of sort of what My Dream Team is. So how do you sort of use My Dream Team as a teaching exercise or sort of set it up to run in a class? We have a full video on the administrative details that's in the slide, so I will just very briefly, in the interest of time, kind of gloss over them for this presentation. But there are more resources out there that will fully guide you through the process. So the big picture question with My Dream Team is what factors were you more or less likely to consider because you used the technology to form teams? So kind of one of the learning objectives is to get people to think about what's important when I build a team, and how do I go about the process of self-assembling a team. And those are big picture takeaways about like team assembly, about how do I leverage my networks and build a collaboration that yes, apply when you're using this technology tool, but it's also a general learning takeaway that people can have, thinking about deliberately building teams. And that's something they can, a takeaway students can have even when they're not using this exact platform for team building. So kind of the research about this has examined with a platform how using an online platform sort of impacts team forming decisions. So you can, by providing people with information or making algorithmic suggestions, you can kind of influence how people build teams. So in the platform, there's a lot of information on the participants, their scores, what's going on with there. And ultimately, what we found in testing is that using this type of platform has some impact on sort of who you're more or less likely to invite. So there is an ability of the algorithm to kind of nudge you in different ways. I'm using the kind of concept of nudging broadly, but by presenting you with different information, you may make different decisions about how to form a team. So I'm going to skip over some of the details of the research, but we have been using this platform partially for research purposes to kind of study what's going on. And we've been able to show that in terms of diversity, in terms of team performance, using a tool like this influences team formation and also team outcomes. That's one of the kind of the big takeaways from the platform, is that how you build a team is gonna impact how successful the team is. We're really interested in not just forming teams, but the consequences of team formation for team performance. So big picture, this platform can influence performance. Let me talk a little bit more about like this platform as a teaching exercise though. So when we're running this, there's kind of two different purposes you can use My Dream Team for. The first purpose is if you're running a long-term class, and that's a project-based class, so you have students working on some type of group assignment, maybe like a final project at the end of the quarter. My Dream Team is a platform that you can use to help students build teams. What are the benefits of doing this? It can help people connect with peers they don't know. It can help kind of break people outside of existing groups. For example, if you have a class that's taught across departments or across universities, it can help students connect with people from other departments, other universities, and build sort of interdisciplinary teams where they can learn from one another. The platform and the process of using it also gets students in this mindset of, I'm going to set up a profile. What are my contributions to the team? So like, how am I kind of marketing myself or presenting myself on the app? And then what kind of characteristics, what kinds of traits do I want to bring into the team by inviting team members? Do we want different perspectives? Do I want to seek out someone with a certain skill? Those are the types of questions people ask when they're using the platform. So that's kind of the first use case is we might use it for like a semester or a quarter-long project. The second use case is you can use it as sort of a one-off teaching exercise. So if you're using it as a one-off teaching exercise, what you can do is you can say sort of, imagine a hypothetical scenario. So imagine you were on a desert island and you needed to survive for 30 days. How would you want to build a team for that? And with that fictitious scenario, we can kind of ask students, hey, just imagine the scenario. You don't actually have to live on a desert island. If you do that, who would you want to put on the team? And use this platform to try to assemble those teams. And then they do that process, they build the teams, and then we can do a debrief exercise and we can start to ask students, how do you connect with each other? What skills do you want to leverage? So those are kind of the two use cases where this kind of platform can come in. Were there any questions in the room?
Question. Yeah. I'm curious about potentially adverse effects. So have you had the experience that for some teams, certain students, certain people might remain isolated, not be chosen for teams for whatever reason? And what kinds of effects did that have on the individual concern and on the team structure?
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good question. With any type of team formation, whether it's using this platform or not, that's definitely a question that we have to think about as educators and like, what are the effects of how does team formation play out? And are there some people who are going to struggle to find a team, people who can feel isolated? Definitely that's like a concern that I don't know that this platform is exactly an answer for that, but it at least gives people an easier avenue to like reach out to others or see who maybe see people who are still looking for a team. But that may not be a like full solution to the problem. And that's like a very good question to think about in terms of pairing people up.
Yeah, as a user, in the past, I think it's really tough because some students are more active and other students are not active. And it's a platforms facilitated way to create the teams, especially like the group projects. And those who are active are more likely to create the ideal teams. And then those who are not active, basically, we need to finally assign them to somewhere. So it's like our intervention to coordinate with them to negotiate if this team is okay for you. So I think there are some certain balance between their autonomy creating teams as self-assembly processes versus as an instructor, you might need to intervene to make more inclusive and then feel like comfortable for everybody.
Just a follow-up
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
I'm just wondering, is there a setting, for example, that enforces the system that every single person needs to be part of a team? I'm thinking of the long-term student projects that we're talking about, for example. Or is that not?
That's a good question. Brennan, do you?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry, the audio picking up on my end is a little garbled.
So basically, she's asking, is there a setting that we force every participant to be in a team, so we don't have like leftover like in the classroom?
No, I don't think there's a setting for that. Generally, part of how we've used it in teaching is that sometimes like instructor kind of intervention is necessary, where we're able to like monitor sort of what are the teams that have been like finalized in the platform and see just on the admin page, like at a glance, like who is in a team, who's currently not in a team. And that's let us like kind of manually deal with the process of like reaching out to students to either suggest they find a team or suggest a potential teammate. So if we're doing like a project with like groups of 3 to 4 and everyone's found the team, but there's like maybe 3 kind of students who are left, it gives us the ability to see who's not in a team and like quickly reach out to maybe some of those people with like potential teammates or someone they should talk to.
Yes.
As for social scientists, it seems like one use case could be illustrated graphically.
Yes.
So we could see all the attributes that are kind of people are selecting.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so I think one of the past research from using these tools illustrate like prior collaboration that has very strong effect. So if the students prior to doing a group project, if they have a past project together, that's predicted and they're more likely to form a team again.
And there is another research on diversity. So in this tool, there is a cool feature that can calculate the diversity score, like in terms of like different aspects of gender diversity, expertise diversity, and people can see those like diversity scores when they choose their team members. And when we did some experiment like in our lab, we found displaying those diversity scores actually would not affect people's choices of their team members. So that is not a really good news. Yeah.
When you're visualizing the network, can you size the node for color the different edges depending on the communication that they're having?
For this, we don't.
No, we don't visualize that.
For this specific one, we don't visualize it. Yeah.
Do you do it, like I usually give group workshops and random, but I always very careful about the leaders. Everybody participates. No one gets voted. But what's the issue with the outcome? Do you actually measure the outcomes of the task performed?
Yeah, so in this particular study, it's a task performance. or the group project performance.
So do groups pick with my dream team and groups not pick with my dream team and look at the performances?
That's a good question. I don't think the experiment differentiated that my dream team use versus no.
Because you have learning objectives.
Yeah.
Team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a good suggestion.
Can you rate, like, after assignments completed, can you rate your team members? So if like you're in a group project and someone's not pulling their weight, can you rate it?
Yeah.
Rate that or?
Not in the platform, but like I think that we had like the Qualtrics survey for the rating purposes. Yeah. So I think that resource is also available upon request.
Yeah, we use it for this like long-term assignment class as well. Yeah, like the semester assignment. But we do find like for some of the teams, if we assign member like manually as educators, we assign members into that team, sometimes they will have trouble like compared to those like who self-assembled. Yeah.
Yes.
Out of curiosity, is there a recommendation feature?
Yes, we do. Yeah. So basically, it's like if you are dating apps, like especially the old days, like the before Tinder, like Match.com, they have a list of like top 10 risks based on like a personality traits or your social capitals and what you look for teammates. We sorted out like okay, this is the top candidate you should pick as the teammate.
But I didn't mean from the system. I meant
Yeah.
more along the lines of, say I need to pick a team of 5 members and I've already chosen 3. Can the 3 members recommend others who might be a good fit?
Yeah, so basically that each member can send out the request. And also there's a message features so that the other members can talk about.
But if we want a new member to join the team, the system set up that it requires the consent from all the existing team members. Yeah. So that is how-
All good questions. Right.